I'm pleased to say that Vitaly Churkin, the Russian ambassador to the United Nations, is able to join us now from New York. Thank you very much indeed for your time, sir. Can you first of all explain why you're putting forward this text now, given your reservations in the past about these kind of drafts?
No, we have always believed that the United Nations Security Council can play a constructive role in trying to resolve the crisis in Syria. And now we believe is a crucial time where a push for peace can be made, and the Security Council can play its role, and the Arab League can play its role. And part of our draft is support of the efforts of the Arab League. We think that the meeting of the Arab League on Saturday, on the 17th, is going to be very important. And we're encouraging both the League and Damascus to cooperate, first of all, to deploy that monitoring mission, in which, in fact, we and other BRICS countries can participate in order to make sure that the violence in Syria stops as quickly as possible.
Okay, well, some Western nations have welcomed this and say that there's room for negotiation on this, but the US have said there's unfortunately a seeming parity between the government and peaceful protesters in your draft. Is that how you see it, that both sides are responsible?
No, this is not the case. No, we don't see it this way. There is no parity. There is a very clear language which puts proportionate blame on everybody who is involved in violence in Syria. We do believe that it's not only the authorities, but also extremist opposition forces who are causing damage and killing people. So that is reflected in our draft. But also, of course, it is a call for peace and dialogue. In fact, along the lines of the previous document, which was adopted by the Security Council on August 3, a presidential statement. So it's not the first time that we would like the Security Council to play an active and constructive role in order to help resolve the crisis in Syria.
But do you think that, one of the things that you're quoted as saying there's a disproportionate use of force by Syrian authorities. Has the Russian position changed in the last few days in light of what you've seen going on in Syria?
No,
are you more concerned now than you were several days ago?
We have been saying all along that the violence there is horrible, that we believe that there have been considerable excesses by some elements among Syrian authorities. There are forces which were dealing with the demonstrators. That force should not be used against demonstrators, but also, as we understand the situation, having followed it very closely, there were extremist elements who were exploiting the demonstrators, using them as human shields, if you will, in order to attack police and security forces of the government, in order to attack government institutions. So this is another disturbing reality, and violence should stop on both sides. So this, in fact, is, again, something which was also said on August 3 by that presidential statement.
Okay, so do you see, what kind of action do you want the UN Security Council to take in the end? If all of you manage to get together and negotiate, what would you want to come out of this?
Well, in the end, we want to have a strong statement in favor of stopping violence, upholding human rights, expediting reforms, including constitutional reforms in Syria, and encouraging the Arab League to play a constructive and positive and peaceful role. And the first step for the Arab League is to have that monitoring mission deployed. We know that there have been some counter proposals on some specifics of the plan made by Damascus. We encourage both Damascus and the Arab League to look at them very constructively, because we don't see anything there which cannot be easily bridged in order for that plan to start being implemented there.
But are you ruling out the threat of sanctions?
We do not really believe in sanctions. And after all sorts of unilateral sanctions have been applied to Syria by the European Union, by the United States, creating hardships for the population there. For instance, I understand that fuel oil is in short supply, being winter. So this is a part of a regime change scenario, and we do not subscribe to that scenario. We don't want to be part of it. We think it would be tragic if this current crisis is going to degenerate in a full-fledged civil war in Syria. It will create incredible hardships and casualties and refugees in Syria with very serious, dramatic regional repercussions. We want to avoid that. We think that it's in the interest of all Syrians to avoid that, and in the neighboring countries. And we really encourage the Arab League to behave, to act in a peacemaking role. It is sort of aggravating and sad sometimes to see the Arab League take a page from somebody else's book in terms of sanctions and all this. some Arab countries can afford economic sanctions more than others. But to see the Arab League turn confrontationally against one of its members, it is very troubling. Because after all, Syria is not the only country which is experiencing problems now in the Middle East. Just minutes ago, I saw a very disturbing piece on CNN, for instance, about human rights suppression in Bahrain. So is it that the Arab League is going to target Bahrain next as for its sanctions?
Okay.
Do they want the Security Council to sort of look at the broader picture in the Middle East, which we do, in fact, because as we discuss Syria, we also discuss the whole situation in the Middle East and some other countries of the Middle East as well.
Okay,
so
Vitaly Churkin, sorry to interrupt, but we are running out of time. Thank you so much for talking to us. Vitaly Churkin, Russian ambassador to the UN.
Sure,
Appreciate
you're
your time.
Okay.
Thank you.